So next company up is Echo Atlantic. The company has offshore interests in Guyana and in Namibia. The company will be represented today by Gil Holzman, President and Chief Executive Officer of the company. He brings a variety of experience in both mining and energy development in the Southern Africa region and South America. So with that, I will pass it on to Gil to tell us about his story.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Adam. Toby, nice to see you. Great presentation. Hi, Simon. Hi, Ryan. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. So, Eco Atlantic. As the headline says, we are seeking to create the most exciting exploration company in the E&P world. Actually, we're no longer seeking to create. I think we managed to create the most exciting exploration company. We are a pure play exploration company with a very defined strategy and business model. And I will I will walk you through. Everyone, please read the disclaimer. It does not need to prevent you from buying our shares immediately after the presentation. All right, so in a nutshell, we are a TSX and AIM listed company, around 100 million market cap, 100 million Canadian market cap, with a very strong and supportive shareholders base. Our biggest single shareholder is Africa Oil Corp, which I'm sure you all familiar with. And we have a company by the name of Azinam Holdings, is a Bermuda-based E&P company, also hold around 11% of the company. Fidelity recently acquired 6.5% in the market. We have Canaccord Genuity from London, CIBC, Coronation and Meridian from South Africa, and management and board still hold around 21% of the company. As I said, we're a pure play exploration, and we are focused only on exploration upstream petroleum opportunities in the most prospective, what has been a new frontier, and now it become proven provinces. Our business model is quite unique. We come in early into what we think to be prospective underexplored basins. We take a very large stake of working interest in the blocks that we apply for or directly negotiate with the government. To start with, we de-risk them on our own, with our own team and our own financial capabilities, and eventually it's our strategic way to partner with much bigger partners, super majors, big IOCs, in order to help us further explore, and we are relying on their technical expertise and deeper pockets. We have, as I said, we have a very experienced management team and mainly a board, and very strong relations with, on the one hand, local governments, on the other hand, big oil and gas companies. In a nutshell, our board comprised of Keith Hill from Africa Oil, you all know him, Peter Nicol, Toby Pierce, former partner, a very seasoned and reputable banker, UK banker, oil and gas banker, Ellen Friedman, whom you all know from Toronto probably. Colin Kinley is our Chief Operating Officer, again, a Canadian by blood. And we have a certain indigenous Namibian on our board and our CFO. In a nutshell, our portfolio spans in the most, as I said, the most prospective and exciting exploration hotspots of the current world. On the west side of the Atlantic, we have exposure to 2 blocks offshore Guyana. One block is was originated by us, the Windward block, where we now have 15% working interest. We drilled 2 wells there in 2019, 2 discoveries, albeit somewhat heavy and sulfurous, but we have more than 1 billion barrels of oil in place already discovered there. On the Orange block, we are partners with Total, Qatar, and Tullow Oil, and the plan is to move it further next year and drill another well into a lighter oil target. We also have an indirect interest in another block, the Kanji block. Both blocks, Oritwick and Kanji, are adjacent to the golden strip of Guyana, with the 13 billion barrels that was discovered by Exxon in the past 8 years. The Kanji block partners are, as I said, JHI, where we are a shareholder. It's a private Toronto-based company, as well as ExxonMobil as the operator and Total. Moving to the east side of the Atlantic, in West Africa, Southwest Africa, we have two offshore blocks in the Orange Basin in South Africa, very close to the border, on trend with the latest discoveries that were made by Total and Shell in Venus and Graph. And we have 4 offshore blocks in the Walvis Basin in Namibia. Both Namibia and South Africa Orange Basin have become the focal point of interest for the industry in the past 12 to 15 months since the latest discoveries made there. As I said, the 2 basins offshore West Africa or Southwest Africa that we have are Walvis and Orange. This is just to give you an idea of the amount of activity that goes on. On the right-hand side, we're talking about the South African area, the Orange Basin. Total Energies, Impact, and Qatar Energy are currently drilling the Venus, the second Venus well. The first one last year was a giant discovery, rumored to have anything between 3 to 10 billion barrels. The single biggest discovery, Sub-Saharan Africa, in the past, I don't know, 2-3 decades. Venus appraisal and Venus flow testing is currently underway. Again, rumors suggest that the reservoir is full of oil, and Total are currently taking their flow testing in order to decide on the next potential development phase. In South Africa, Total have announced that they're going to drill up to 10 wells in block DWOB. DWOB stands for Deepwater Orange Basin. This is the block right adjacent to our block. The light blue block is our block, block 3B4B. Total are spudding a well in March 24, right on the border of our block. And again, as I said, they're planning up to 10 wells. They have 2 rigs in the area for the next 2 years. In the Graph block, Shell, Qatar Energy, and Namco, again, they announced a big discovery last year on Graph. There was another discovery just recently, the Yonker-1 light oil discovery. And for those of you who have read the Upstream magazine yesterday, Shell are currently already contemplating a development plan, and they want to have first oil by 2029, 2030 out of this area of a discovery. As I said, 3B4B, and I will show you later, is directly correlated to the Graph and Venus discoveries, same water depth, same trend, same basin, same sediment, etc. In Namibia, we are the second largest acreage holder in Namibia, second only to Namco. We've been active in Namibia since the early beginning of the oil exploration era of Namibia. Since 2009, we started to look around. All the blocks were still open. We decided to focus on the Walvis Basin, which looked to have the right characteristics for an actual oil window and oil kitchen. And in order to diversify the play within the basin, we took 4 somewhat different blocks. One Sharon license is a shallow water. Cooper license is a mid-range, kind of between 700 to 1.5 kilometers water depth, and the Guy and Tamar licenses are deep water plays. Currently, the focus of the industry, everyone in the industry is now looking for deep water. Namibia and Guy license and Tamar license are both answer this exact criteria. In the Walvis Basin, we're going to see some deals imminent. There are rumors to have a major or an IOC farming into several blocks there. I wouldn't tell you who, and I wouldn't tell you to which block. And Moore and Prom are currently contemplating 2 wells to start at the end of this year, Q4, right next to our blocks right here. So there will be a lot of activity, not only in the Orange Basin, but also in the Wallabies Basin in Namibia. As I said, second largest acreage holder offshore Namibia, but not only that, we have 85% working interest in each of our blocks, and we are the operators. What that means, and we recently reset the licenses in 2021, so 2 years ago, and the licenses are valid and good until 2031, with a very flexible, I would say, work program. The fact that we have 85% working interest and operator gives us a lot of flexibility in potential farm out. We can offer up to even 65% working interest to someone, and operatorship if need so. And that makes it very attractive for big companies that potentially in one deal can become not only an operator, but also a very large working interest holder in 4 blocks comprised of 30,000 square kilometers. So in one deal, you can get a very big stake in the offshore Namibia, especially in the deep water ones. And without disclosing too much, I can tell you that even though that we don't have a formal farm out process on our Namibian blocks, we are getting a lot of inbound interest, and we're currently in somewhat advanced discussions with at least 2 big companies that really like to test the potential of, test the potential of partnering with us in our Wallabies Basin Namibian blocks. In Guyana, as I said, the older green bulbs are discoveries made by Exxon in Guyana in the past 8 years. The first one was Liza, and then many followed. The 31 discoveries comprised of 13 billion barrels, right on the edge of our block. One discovery, actually Hammerhead, has a small stretch into our block, and we ourselves will drill 2 wells back in 2019 with Total and Tullow, and came up with 2 discoveries of 1 billion barrels of oil in place, 13 to 18 API. Unfortunately, our partner and operator, Tullow Oil, is not a heavy oil kind of a developer or producer. They tried to shy away from it, and they decided at that point not to develop it. However, the discoveries are still under our name, and potentially in the future with a different operator, with a different oil price environment, different development techniques, we might be able to develop at least a bigger field, which is Jethro, that we discovered in 2019. As I said, we are planning to enter into the next renewal period, which starts at the end of this year, and we have 2 years to drill at least 1 well into the lighter oil targets that are in the Cretaceous. And these are the 3 options that we are looking at: Kako, Ayatuk, and Kumaka. These are the three red dots there that correspond directly to the channels that lead to Liza, to Fangtooth, to Skipjack, and others. The joint venture, comprised of Total, Qatar, and Tullow, will take a decision before entering into the next renewal period, which target to drill and exactly when. Of course, if it was only up to us, we would have drilled it Q1 24, and hopefully the joint venture will take the same decision. Just to give you a perspective about the Orange Basin, Orange Basin is considered to be the last largest delta basin of the world. To give you an idea how big it is, this is the entire Guyana Suriname stretch of the left-hand side. This is the entire Guyana Suriname stretch of discoveries. Again, 13 billion barrels in Guyana, additional 3 billion barrels here in Suriname, so 16 billion barrels. And this is to scale to the Orange Basin. So this is the entire Guyana Suriname basin. you can actually fit it into one block, which is 3B4B, our block in Orange Basin. This is the Orange Basin, a huge delta, came from actually two rivers. This is the Orange River, but there was another river right here back in the days. This is South Africa. This is the border between Namibia and South Africa. This is the entire basin. And we see all the sediments went like this, like this. This is the Kudu gas discovery. This is the Impact and Total Venus 1 discovery. This is Graph 1. And as I said, 3B, 4B, we managed to identify in the latest CPR more than 4 billion barrels of prospective oil on some very, very interesting prospects that look not dissimilar to Graph and Venus. We are lucky to have Africa Oil as our biggest shareholder. Africa Oil has access to the Venus data because they are also the biggest shareholder in Impact. Africa Oil holds 32% of Impact, and therefore they have some access into the data of Venus. We managed to use this information, use this knowledge in order to incorporate it into our own CPR and studies of 3B, 4B. And 3B, 4B looks to be very much analog to what we see in Graph and Venus. We are planning to complete our farm out process, hopefully not too far away in the future. Let me put it this way. We are actively engaged with certain groups in negotiations, and the plan is to spud at least one well out of two, sometimes in the middle of 24. The rig availability in the area is not great, but we have Total with 2 rigs contracted for the next 2 years. They're currently working in Venus, and they will, as I said, they will move down to South Africa to drill the adjacent block in March. And also Shell has 1 rig which is contracted for the area for the next 2 years. So there will be some rig slots. So once we complete, hopefully, our farm out process, we will be able to go ahead and drill. Currently, we are in the middle of the EIA process, which will be followed by a drilling permit process, and we will be drill ready, hopefully by the end of this year, when we finalize a potential farm out and move ahead to drilling next year. In terms of timeline, this was our portfolio. So 6 blocks, West Africa, 2 blocks in Guyana. In South Africa, Block 2B, I forgot to mention Block 2B. This is Block 2B. We have an existing discovery, the AJ1 discovery, with around 38 to 40 million barrels of light oil. Not commercial enough. It's not enough to be commercial. It's too small, 40 million barrels there. However, we drilled another well just last year. Unfortunately, unsuccessfully, we didn't find the commercial hydrocarbons. However, based on the historic discovery that we have on this block, we applied for a production right, and currently we are in the process of granting the production right. We are currently in discussions with PASA, with the government, with our partners, to see where we're going with that. We believe that the grant of the production right will be given at the end of this year or sometimes next. At the moment, it is just a very interesting real estate to have, giving all the activity in the basin. In 3B, 4B, as I said, the EIA process is in place, and also an official farm out process. We are targeting for 2 exploration wells, Q2, Q3, 24. Once we complete the farm out, that will be the plan. By the end of this year, we believe that we will have the EIA approved and the drilling permits given. As I said, there will be rigs in the area, and there will be a well spudding right next to us, next door in the deepwater Orange Basin block. In Orinduik, as I said, we are refining the Cretaceous targets with Total and Tullow at the moment. The decision to enter into the next exploration phase will come at around October. And once we enter, that means that we are committed to drill at least 1 well in the next 2 years, so 24, 25. And we hopefully, between us and Total, we will look to drill as soon as practically possible. In Kanji block, we are an indirect interest holder. We don't even have a direct working interest. So we are waiting for Exxon and Total to decide when they're going to drill the next well. They are committed for yet another well. Otherwise, they need to relinquish. It can be either in 24 or in 25. Again, we have a free exposure to this well after our investment in JHI. We don't need to pay anything, and hopefully we will have an exposure to a successful well there. In Namibia, we are currently doing a structural report study and additional G&G. And as I said, not official process, but we have a lot of inbound interest, and we are in discussions with several companies to come and potentially partner with us on our 4 blocks, 85% working interest. In parallel to that, we are quite known to be active, and we don't stand still, and we don't wait for the catalyst to happen. We would like to create catalyst, and we are currently evaluating additional assets with the same kind of profile in the same jurisdictions or same regions that we are operating and familiar with, and we also look for additional corporate opportunities. In our past, we did already 2 mergers, 2 investments into other companies. So we are quite active also corporately, and we are currently looking for additional potential deals in order to grow our portfolio and to grow our potential shareholders' return. That's in a nutshell. As I said, exploration focus, catalyst driven, a lot of great acreage in the hottest spots of the exploration world, listed in Toronto, listed in AIM. I don't know if those of you who followed our historic share price, currently we are traded at 29 cents. There were times we were at more than $3 after a good deal or a good discovery. So the potential is huge, and I believe that the next 18 months will be very, very telling, and will have the potential to transform the company into yet again a very big or a mid-cap company, other than a small cap company that we are at the moment. That's it.
Great, thanks, Gil. Obviously, very high impact exploration potential. Maybe just starting with some of the farm outs that you're potentially looking at, what kind of structure would be reasonable to see? How much is typically given up to have one of the large producers come in and drill the well?
First of all, it depends on the commercial merits of the deal. Obviously, these companies, they don't come for 10% or 20% working interest. They need a significant stake. Anything from 50 to 60%. That's the threshold. It was published already by us and Africa Oil. We are currently discussing 55% working interest to a certain farming that would, in order for him to come and drill 2 wells fully carried, 2 wells with additional payments. So around 55%, as I said, in 3B4, be 50 to 55. In Namibia, as I said, we have 85%. We feel very comfortable at 20, 25. So there's a lot to offer. So in that sense, as I said, the ballpark is around 50 to 60%.
Maybe just highlight strategy with the company. Obviously, you've set up a number of very high impact exploration opportunities in the 3 countries. Is the goal for the company to take production and take its working interest share and become an actual producer, or do you think as development plans, once the exploration is concluded, the development plans come out, should there be success, do you see yourself as maybe stepping back from the asset, letting the operator take a bigger ownership, taking some cash on hand, and then rolling that into either another project or finding additional opportunities?
That's a great question, Adam. Let me start by saying, listen, I look very bad in helmets, in yellow helmets. I look very bad in general, but in helmets, I look very bad. There's no intention that we will stay on a producing vessel for the next 25 years collecting royalties. This is not the business model. This is not the strategy. One of the reasons we are partnering with big companies is not only to rely on their technical expertise and deep pockets, is in order for them and to take over once we have a proven discovery and a development plan going forward. we have zero competitive advantage in developing huge offshore field, and we don't have any real experience in producing oil and paying dividends to our shareholders in the next 25 to 30 years. What we do know is to identify a very good project, to bring in the good partners, hopefully to have a big discovery and immediately to monetize it. Let's say we monetize something for, I don't know, $500 million. Probably $490 million out of it will go immediately back to our shareholders, and we only need to keep small money in order to continue the same play. So the goal is to explore, discover, sell on / monetize, and return a lot of money to our shareholders.
Any onshore opportunities in South Africa or Namibia that potentially you would look at?
We feel more comfortable offshore for many reasons. We think that the elephant hunting is offshore. Onshore, given our strategy of explore, discover, and monetize, onshore usually represent a smaller play with different development needs. We don't say no, but we didn't come across the right opportunity to date that will justify entering into onshore. By the way, we started our way in Namibia with 3 offshore blocks and 2 onshore. After a year, we relinquished the 2 onshore ones. They were not interesting enough for us. It was coal-based methane and quite a complicated development. So in a nutshell, the focus is offshore.
Okay, understood. All right, well, with that, thank you, Gil, for the presentation. As I said on the last call, if there's any questions that you want to address as you continue to kind of digest these stories, please reach out to one of your partners at Echelon, and we'll happily address that.